My name is Sasha Wedekind and I am the moderator. I'm an analyst at Guidehouse Insights, where I focus on market analysis and forecasts for building efficiency and decarbonization. And one of my focus areas is innovative business models in the smart building space, such as energy as a service. So during this panel today, we'll talk about the evolution of the smart buildings market towards new business models, essentially moving away from a single product sale business towards subscriptions and value-added services, essentially facilitating a deeper recurring relationship with customers. And what we're seeing is that companies across the smart building ecosystem are now offering added services such as space use management, occupant services, remote monitoring, sustainability monitoring, and a host of others. And a lot of these have actually been spurred by the COVID-19 pandemic and a realization that buildings need to be further digitized to support this new normal we're heading towards. And as in any new business model, there are many challenges for smart building vendors that are trying to move towards these kinds of ongoing and comprehensive engagements with their clients. They have to increasingly rely on an integration of different systems, advanced data analytics skill sets, and they also now have to manage challenges such as information technology and operation technology convergence, facilitating innovation, and addressing client readiness. And we'll try to touch on all of these a little bit today. I have two wonderful panelists with me today, Marielle DeVessa, Global Head of Business Development at Fin, and Marta Sancodi, Smart Building Program Director at the Telecommunications Industry Association. And today we'll try to shed some light on these trends, but before we dive into the questions, I'll let Marta and Marielle introduce themselves. Marta, would you like to go first?
Sure, thank you, Sasha. I am Marta Sancodi, Director of Smart Buildings Program at TIA. That's short for the Telecommunications Industry Association. TIA is a non-profit member-based organization representing more than 400 companies. We are an SDO and develop standards for the ICT industry, typically starting with best practices, then we develop technical specifications, standards, and of which the large majority is ANSI standards, TIA being an ANSI accredited organization. We also develop technology programs like the Smart Buildings program that I represent. We started the Smart Buildings program in late 2017 and have recently completed the development of a set of criteria for assessing smart building smartness. With this set of assessment criteria, we are taking a holistic approach of looking at 6 categories of functionality: connectivity, health and well-being, life and property safety, power and energy, cybersecurity, and sustainability. We assess and verify smart buildings regardless of building type or industry, focusing on technology that is being used. These criteria are the basis for a verified rating score for smart buildings and also enable the production of valuable benchmarking and performance data. And of course, we welcome participants in developing specifications for smart buildings technology adoption.
Great, thanks, Marta. Marielle?
Thanks, Sasha. Marielle DeVessa. I have business development for Fin. We are a smart technology company focused on water leak detection and monitoring. So we manufacture devices that can tell you how much water is being used, how it's being used, if you have any leaks, and it can automatically turn the water off in your property. So we focus primarily on single family homes and small commercial. I've been there now for 2 years, and prior to that, I spent 10 years within insurance. So water loss is one of the largest factors that an insurance carrier deals with. It's over a $20 billion problem in the US. And that's how I had met Fin. So I ran innovation there. And very looking forward to the panel and chatting with you all today.
Great, thank you both. So for my first question, Marta, you just mentioned that at TIA you developed a framework to assess buildings for smartness. And I'm curious, in your view, what are the characteristics of a smart building solution that essentially transcends that simple hardware plus software sale model and moves towards services and recurring business with customers?
Sure. To start with, smart buildings are characterized by complexity and scalability. This creates a setting that can only be supported with services and recurring business with customers. Regarding complexity, smart buildings have numerous and diverse systems and subsystems, starting with BAS, BMS, which include HVAC, lighting, and electrical systems. They also have fire systems, access control, safety and security, audio, video, general parking metering, and some also have elevators, occupancy sensing, asset tracking, daylight harvesting, and on and on. Building operators will not have staff to manage all these services. So complexity is a major reason why building operations are provided by external service providers. Scale is the other factor, as buildings could be comprised of several structures, have several floors and different types of areas. They could also host hundreds of occupants with their own environmental preferences. Lighting alone could include thousands of bulbs that need to be monitored and serviced. And same goes for sensors, which are placed pretty much in any subsystem nowadays. So we are seeing extensive building sensorization, and that gives us so much more information we didn't have before. On top of that, an added layer of complexity is integrating the smart building subsystems and managing them and the data they provide with applications and services that allow for monitoring and control, visualization, analytics and insights, and then we see advanced services like predictive maintenance, optimizing space utilization, ultimately in a single pane of glass manner. So we are talking even more services to build and manage. And we are not done, because another service enabler stems from the ultimate goal of smart buildings, which we define as optimizing building performance and occupant experience. And these optimizations require feedback loop for occupant and for the building, meaning that we give occupants data and take their feedback, and that's what we call human in the loop feedback. And then we also use building feedback loops to look at historical data and patterns. So this opens opportunities for myriad applications and services, and a never-ending cycle of continuous improvements and optimizing for building performance and occupant experience. So to sum up, complexity, scale, and smart buildings goals are characteristics that enable and require extensive service-based building management.
Marielle, would you like to add to that?
I think that what's happening today with commercial properties and smart buildings is exactly that. It's using, how do you use IoT data to actually make things more efficient and bring simplicity, start using the data to actually start analyzing what's happening and improve the capabilities of the building. So that's what we're seeing in the industry and with companies that we're dealing with, and how they want to access our data and improve their operations.
Great. And Marielle, you mentioned that Finn is working on expanding into commercial and municipal buildings. So I'm curious, what are some of the services that you're offering these new customer segments?
Yeah, great question. We've been working with municipalities now for almost a year. So Southern Nevada Water Authority was one of the first that we started working with. What they're interested in is in changing behavior. So if we look at what is happening at water on a global scale, it's something that it's a depleting resource. We have, the population is going to nearly double in the next 50 years. So when you take all of those things into consideration, as well as even infrastructure costs, where if you look at the infrastructure in the US, it really came in the early 1900s, it needs to be replaced. That's at quite an expensive cost. That's going to result in increasing water costs. And so the partners that we work with are trying to do two things. One, on the sustainability front, how do you retain the actual resources that you currently have? And how do you become more efficient in its use? And so the municipalities are very interested in seeing if they can change behavior from their base And so by installing, they're issuing rebates for the consumers and for our light commercial customers as well. And what that's doing is that the customers are now able to actually see how they're using water, becoming smarter about water use. So in other words, how much time do they spend in the shower? I know that that was something that was a surprise to me. I thought I was taking short showers, and I looked the first time and I said, there's no way I took that long of a shower. And that long of a shower resulted in how much water? And so I felt a little guilty. And so it did change my behavior. And so by being able to open up an app and be able to see, okay, I took a shower from 7:03 to 7:15, and that resulted in X number of gallons, that kind of level of detail gives some insights into what is happening and can change behaviors. So they're very interesting. We're also working as an example with the city of Santa Fe, where they won a Green Builder Award for their actual improvements in the utilization of water. So again, a city where water costs are increasing, where there's some challenges there, but what we're able to do is we have an enterprise dashboard for these types of situations that we're working with. And so what they can do is it's a program with restaurants. And so they wanted to see X number of restaurants in the city. How is their water use comparative to similar sized restaurants? And so what you'll find is that you can, because again, we're looking at consumption and type of consumption. So not only can we tell them in real time how much water is being used, comparatively between restaurants. So you can start to see who is a high water user, who's a low water user. And then when you rank things, people obviously don't want to be at the bottom usually. And so they'll take corrective action and saying, well, what can I do? I don't want to be at the bottom. I can change fixtures. I can put more efficient items in. So it's causing real change there. And also for those who are more proactive in the use of how they're utilizing water, they also can be able to look at things and say, okay, well, why is my water use so much higher on Mondays versus Wednesday? And so what they found is that when they went in and they looked at who was utilizing the water, the staff, one of the staff members would come in, turn the water on, and they wouldn't turn it off until they left for the day. So again, was a learning experience where they said, well, that's not right. And it was a training moment where then they retrained that employee, and now their water costs have gone down. So we continually see that, the ability to use real-time data, something that these enterprises and consumers haven't been able to have, didn't know that they could have. And now they're able to start really using the data to make corrective actions that are improving their maintenance, it's preventative measures on the property, they're reducing their losses, and they're just getting smarter about how they're using water. So we're seeing an increase from not only municipalities, like commercial, from builders, from HOAs, from asset management companies. So those that are really more on the proactive side.
Great. So all these services that Fin offers are really a great example of moving towards those deeper engagements with clients. And I'm curious, what do you see as the main value add of these new recurring business models? You already mentioned a few, but I'm curious, what is in it for the customer to not just purchase a solution, but engage in a long-term relationship service contract with the vendor?
Yeah, for us, it's very much about what we want to create win-win situations that are long-term. It's definitely not about just the hardware side, which we manufacture with what we would call the best in the industry, but it's also about how do we partner with the companies that we're working with to provide data that's not just a data dump. That's not helpful. If we can provide insights where they can immediately see the benefit and take corrective actions, that's impactful. They can easily access the dashboard and see which property has the highest, let's say, pressure level. As an example, within insurance, didn't even know that pressure was even a factor that should be considered because it wasn't a data point that was readily available. But what we're finding in the data is that general water pressure to a home should be somewhere between, let's say, 30 PSI, pounds per square inch, to about 80 PSI. But what we're seeing in these newer developments or in some properties in some areas of cities is that they're increasing the pressure quite high into the 100 PSI, 120 PSI. And what does that do? That increases the amount of pressure that's going into a property, increases the force at every joint that's in the home, every fixture, every hose. And so by being able to notify our partners or the end consumer about this, they can actually take corrective action where then they say, okay, I didn't know that. Now I do. Now I'm going to fix it. And I'm going to fix it, and that's going to prevent damage from happening to me. So not only is it a better customer experience for the end user, be that the homeowner or the property, but those that are managing the property, and they can do it remotely, which is amazing if you think about it. I know I've had issues where I've been managing a property and you get that horrible call that says, hey, there's water coming out and we don't know what to do and everything is flooded. And you're 40 minutes away and you can't get a hold of the plumber, and you're just thinking the whole way on the drive there, you're like, the water's just running and running and creating all this damage. With IoT devices as ours, all you do is you open your app, you open the dashboard, and you say, turn the water off. Or you automatically have it set where the device will do it for you. So you're really mitigating those losses and creating real value. And for us, it's about understanding their business model, understanding where we can add benefits to them to simplify their operations, to improve their improve cost savings for them, and also improve the end user experience.
Great. Marta, would you like to add to that? What's the main value add of these recurring services in your view?
With smart buildings, we're seeing if you do integration and micro data services that enable higher level applications and services, we see a potential explosion of building services and proliferation of services. So the potential is immense. I don't think we can quantify, but it's very encouraging and great news for the smart buildings and in general for the ICT industry.
Great. So we already talked a little bit about this before, that IT-OT convergence is, really an ongoing challenge when implementing some of these more advanced smart building solutions and services that integrate across all sorts of different building systems. And I think this is especially pertinent in ongoing service contracts with a customer. So Marta, I'm curious, what do you see in terms of the market? How are different vendors in the market addressing this challenge?
Sure, this has been a long-term challenge, and as you pointed out, Sasha, it's immediately felt in the case of current service contracts. There are change factors though, like new technologies and convergence to integrated networks and IP backbones with segmentation to resolve latency, bandwidth, and security potential issues. In the Smart Buildings program, we address it with a concept, with a framework we call the building as a connected asset. That's an approach to connectivity where that enables data collection and exchange across subsystems and building networks. This also addresses the situation where multiple applications and services that are currently being used and that are needed. So operators use multiple of these side by side, and integration is needed with one application to manage the multi-facets of building functionality. And with the subsystem data generally available, we have, as I said before, we have the basis for advanced applications and services that give that give a view and visibility in all aspects of building areas, up to that ultimate highly desired single pane of glass application. Another important factor is change factor is the aging technician and service workforce. It's being renewed with a new generation that needs to be trained to new technologies and smarter network operations, of which a large part is remote operation, as Mariel mentioned. And many of these we see that they include AR, VR support, for example, for troubleshooting and part replacement, or as Mariel said, for actuation and preventing disasters. So we see a gradual IT-OT network convergence with data available from all subsystems that is turned into these multi-faceted applications and services. And we will see new technologies applied to building operations. In fact, we expect tremendous change in building operations and related services on this topic, and especially through IT/OT integration.
Yeah, and I would agree with what Marta is saying. I mean, we see oftentimes we might start with the discussion in the IT side of a new partner because it's like, it's IoT information. But then when it's using, how are you really going to operationalize this in the business? It does move more on the OT side where it's a merging of both. And so it, like Marta said, there's security questions, there's cloud questions. So IT is obviously very much involved in setting up a system. But then when it goes into the business to operationalize it and to create those efficiencies of scale and bring it across the enterprise. And many times it also has a consumer portion of it as well. So sometimes it's the IT OT, but then we're also seeing that shift on the consumer side and the marketing side. So how do you actually display that to the complete end user of whichever partner we're working with, so that they can have the benefits not only from the operational side, but also the halo effects of what happens when the consumer sees it, and the benefits long-term from both what the operations can do, but what the consumer can also do once they have information. So I think it's shifting from, it's no longer just IT, OT, it's a merging of both. And that's when it becomes more powerful, when all parties understand the benefit and what it's being used for, and how it can be magnified, and how you can actually bring these real benefits. So many times the discussion has previously been, oh yes, IoT data, yes, 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 but like, show me the bottom line, show me how I can save money, especially now that we're in COVID time. And there's some real challenges out there. It's very much a focus on, show me the bottom line. Am I going to save money? Is this going to be a better thing for the business? Where can we do that in a real way? And that's something that I think, especially in water leak detection and monitoring, is something that's clearly evident. It's something that it's not if it's going to be a problem, it's when it's going to be a problem. And so those that are being more proactive, those that are saying, we see it, we understand it, we want to take advantage of it, we want to be a first mover, and the ones that can bridge that gap between IT and OT, those are the ones that I think are going to have that biggest benefit initially.
So this is actually a perfect segue to my next question. What kind of customers are willing to look at, more of these recurring, integrated, deep services? Do you sense a growing readiness, for new business models and new ways that, services and products are being delivered among specific customer segments?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think, I spent over 4 years running innovation. And so I think that the same thing of what you see in those companies that are more innovative, really innovative, and that do things outside of the box, that they're not looking to see what everyone else is doing. They're looking to see how they can make a change, how they can get an advantage, how they can save more money. Those are the ones that we're seeing are the first movers. So those that can understand that this is where the consumers are interested in. This is where municipalities are offering rebates in. This is where, the companies can, let's say they have a small staff of maintenance folks, but they need to manage a lot of properties. Those are the ones that are saying, okay, this solves a problem. We see the problem. Here's a solution. We're going to do it. And it's early in the game. So those, there are, as in anything, those companies that are follow the leader, and then those that are leading. Who are the leaders? They're proactive insurers. Insurers that say, this is a rating variable we didn't have before. If we have this, we make a real differentiation in how we price our book of business, and we can have a material change, because it's not just a one-year benefit, it's a multi-year benefit. So those that are looking at not only from, let's say, an actuarial benefit of, I need to have all of this data for X number of years, you're not going to have that. If you wait that long, you're going to be a follower. And so those that are being really forward leaning are those that understand directionally where this is going and what could happen, and are taking that leap. They want to be that first mover. They want to have that advantage. And so we're seeing that with, again, forward thinking insurers, forward thinking builders, where they want to have a differentiated product for their customer base. Forward-thinking asset management companies that are saying, we have a real problem with water, we have a real problem with mold, we want to have this be better for our customers, lower our costs, lower our exposure. And so those that are more forward leaning are those that are taking the biggest initiative and the biggest chance and will gain the most.
Mm-hmm. Marta, would you like to add?
Sure. It's a perfect opportunity to create that hourglass model where you have at the middle convergence of networks, integrated subsystems, data services available. And on top of that, you allow for a marketplace of new services, innovation, and then all these multifaceted types of applications. I mean, think of architects who work for hundreds of years with 2D models, and now you can have in your pocket a device that allows you to visualize 3D, and you have so much visibility into data and what's going in the building. So intelligence, it's what enables you, and being smart about it is using the data to optimize based on your business goals. And as I said, for us, it's optimizing for building performance and occupant experience.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I would like to close with one quick question. That's something that's on everybody's mind, the current pandemic that we're in. So I'm curious, in your experience, did the pandemic significantly affect this market?
Yeah, I can take this. So definitely, and I'm explicitly excited about this because we discuss it a lot internally. So business continuity plans for work from home, back to office, and these scenarios have created spikes of activity and immediacy to respond, to take a stance, and to provide solutions, at least for the short term. The pandemic has forced us to experience work from home, remote education, and then back to office. And with that, we've seen a shift in focus to occupant safety and well-being. It has also enabled innovation in how we react, how we adapt it, and some of the changes we're seeing, everybody saying that, will turn into long-term solutions and services. For us, how that looks like, we are not mandating specific technology use, and we do stay away from what could be niche or short-lived solutions or best practices. But we do capture the variety of functionality that and applications and services that specific technologies enable. So for example, occupancy can be detected with sensors, but also with applying machine learning on Wi-Fi signal characteristics. And then you can use occupancy sensors for energy use optimization, for space optimization, safety, and etc. So what we do is ask and reward for data to be that's collected and used in a smart way to optimize building performance and occupant experience. So post-pandemic, we will see more digitalization, sensorization, new services proliferation to support hybrid work, education, and the new ways we will live.
Great, thanks, Marta. I think we only have maybe less than a minute left. So Marielle, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen some shifts in COVID. So we've seen companies that want to improve benefits, and we've actually seen consumers being at home that are installing devices at home. So from our insurance side, that's increasing. But we've seen actually changes in water use. So funny enough, we can see that a shift from people taking showers at 6:30 in the morning till shifting till 9 because they're at home now. And so, but this has been a great panel. I really appreciate both of you being on the panel with me, and look forward to chatting again.
Great, thank you so much for your great insights and a great discussion. I'm sure everybody here would be happy to answer any questions. So if anyone in the audience has any, please don't hesitate to reach out, and hope you have a great rest of your conference.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Marielle.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, you guys. This was, you stuck so well within topic. And oops, sorry, I brought my kitchen timer so I could help keep track of everyone. Anyway, you guys, you shared so much information and you still stuck within the topic and within the time. So thank you very much for that. Do you have any questions for me now that we've managed to pull it off?
Lisa, how's it gonna work when it's the actual live thing? So it's gonna show and then we're gonna do Q&A, or like how's that gonna work?
So you will, I think they're starting to send your login information for SwapCard, which is the platform that we're using for the event. And they're sending that out, I think, within the next week or so. What that allows you to do is you are logged in during the session when this panel is running, and the audience will have access to the chat function. And so the questions will be coming from the audience through chat and you can answer them there. So a calendar invite will be sent to you to block off that time in your calendar to remind you to be logged into SwapCard, ready for the panel during that specific time, which I think is 11:40 a.m. on August 12th. And then there's another area that if you guys can attend would be great. You will receive a calendar invite for this as well. It's called an Ask Me Anything room. And our speakers are all assigned to one. So you will have information of where to go and what time that is. Ideally, it's right after your panel session. And we would also tell the audience that for additional questions, they would follow you to this Ask Me Anything. And then you would be able, they've been saying so far that you guys should be live to be able to answer questions, but the audience will be sending them in as chat because it's too hard to control if everyone is in there like a giant Brady Bunch family and all are talking. So they're still working out the best way to manage that Ask Me Anything, but during the panel, while your session is running, they can ask questions that time too. So there's two opportunities for you.
That's great, Sean.
The really funny thing is, Sean and I started work on the exact same day at this company, so I don't mind being her every now and then.
Oh, and I wanted to say, Mariel and Sasha, you are great. You were not moving. I wanted to scratch to move.
Oh,
I'm
I was thinking the same. I'm like, I want to like scratch and like get something out of my eye, and yeah, no.
I feel like it's the same as soon as I put my mask on, my nose itches, my eyebrow, you know, something is going on that was not happening at any other time. It's just right now when I shouldn't do that. I hear you.
It'll be painful to watch myself on video during the recording of this. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, we've been recording. So for my team, we've been recording every single one of our meetings as we try to figure things out, because we have this crazy idea that at some point somebody's gonna be able to go back into those meetings and like take notes on things that I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. I took notes during the call. Why didn't you? But I also don't want to like look at myself anymore. I look at myself all day, every day in these calls, and I'm just like, why would I want to revisit that? But you know, you guys, you did wonderfully well. It was a great panel. I loved everything that you guys talked about. The audience is going to eat it up, and they're going to this is really useful stuff for people who are looking at these types of questions. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and also Mariel to opening my eyes to new things I had no idea existed. So.
Well, as always, super fun. So Sasha and Marta, great. Lisa, thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
If you have any questions, like outside of this, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll get back to you right away so that we can keep everybody on track. And also, Sasha, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about the Smart City Summit in October. I'll reach out to you about that and see if you're interested. But I know Mariel and Marta, I have you both on the hook. So I'm not really chasing after that at the moment because I kind of have this priority. But Marta, you and I sort of talked through email. Mariel, I'll get back with you. But just know that I'm going to be coming after you guys.
Awesome. We have multiple analysts that just focus on smart cities as well. So I'm happy to put you in touch. Excellent. I think they'll be great moderators or panelists as well.
Well, we're also doing some interesting things around roundtable discussions and work groups to try and virtually recreate sort of, they're not spontaneous if you pick a subject matter, but one thing that we know we cannot replicate through this sort of format are those spontaneous questions and speaking opportunities for audience members to network. So we're having things that are not just pre-recorded sessions and panels. There are live discussions that will also be happening too, which always, we love our analysts for those. So I'm sure there's a lot for you guys there, Sasha, as well.
Sure.
And
Okay.
thank you so
Great to
much.
discuss further.
It was really smooth and painless. So thank you.
That's all down to you guys. You read my emails and you got yourselves organized. So it shows. So, all right. Thank you so much. And I'll let you guys, I think 15 minutes we're under. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, there's the alert.
Awesome.
All right. Take care, you
Thank you.
guys. All right. Bye.
Bye.